Back in the late 80s and early 90s, anthropomorphic characters were all the rage. Ninja Turtles had everybody gassed, and because they were so popular, there were a plethora of inspired by / copycat characters and comics and franchise and TV shows. And one of them that stood out to me more than most was a character called Bucky O'Hare. So originally released under a comic called Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars back in 1984, Bucky O'Hare was created by a guy called Larry Hama, and although he wouldn't create the TV show and the toys until 1991, this was something that from day one he knew he wanted to take further than just a comic.
Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! Mutants and aliens and toads beware! You're looking for adventure? Well, this is it! We're Jenny, Deadeye, Blinky, and Willie Dewitt. I said, Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare!
If you look at the designs in the comic, the characters have holes in their feet, they have plugs on their belts and holes in their guns, because this was all forward thinking for when he released the toy line. And the comic was popular enough that in 1991 Hasbro released the toy line, and that's what we've got here to look at today. So let's have a look at this guy first, the Toad Air Marshal. His gun was originally like a toxic neon green, and this one's black. I don't know why I don't have him with the toxic neon green gun. I've got boxes of weapons and accessories, so I do have all the correct colours somewhere. This dude, like I said, he's the air marshal of the bad guys, and in this show, there's a supercomputer called Complex. He's a lot like Brainiac, and he's brainwashed all the reptiles and the amphibians and turned them into an army called the Toad Empire to fight against the United Animals Federation. And this guy is like the second in command. He's basically the little bitch for Complex. He does all Complex's running about. And he's the smallest out of all the toys, but as you can see, he's got like the henchiest gun out of all of them. So just continuing with the bad guys, we'll look at these. These are called Storm Toads. It's like a stormtrooper, but it's a toad. I've got two of them. I'm not one of these guys that army build, but I've got two of these because obviously in the show, there's hundreds of these guys. So I just kept two, and I've only got one gun for them. But these are like the stormtroopers. They're bad guys like foot soldiers. These come in like a semi-action pose, and as a kid I never really liked stuff in semi-action poses. These weren't too bad. Whenever you've got a toy and it's stood like this, it can only really be played with one way. These aren't too bad. They're in a semi-action pose, but it's alright. The only thing that lets them down is that they don't stand up very well, and although they come with holes in their feet, the only thing that they can actually stick into is the vehicles. There's no playset or nothing like that. This was a cartoon series that ran for just 13 episodes, and they only ever released the first wave of toys, so I've got the entire first wave. The second wave was never released, so who knows if we were going to get a playset down the line. Next up we got this guy Toadborg, and he's half robot, half toad, cyborg, mutant robot, and he's fucking awesome. He's like the top boy henchman of the Toad Empire. I always quite liked his gun as well, that it's got like two handles on it. You see this gun, it's got two handles, and it goes in his hand and his arm, like it's almost connected to his cybernetics there in his arm. In the show, he's got like a lot more spiky armor, which I always thought looked cool, and they didn't do that on the toy, but it's cool. He's still fucking awesome. The one downfall about this figure is that he never wants to stand up. He's really hard to make stand up. You've got to like really put his feet apart. Motherfucker, you don't want to stand up. Do you know what? I can just see this guy wants to fall over. Stand, motherfucker! Do you know? And then finally, for the bad guys, we've got my favourite character of all the bad guys, Almaguer. Look how fucking awesome he is. He just screams early 90s toys. Towards the late 80s and the early 90s, I think they like discovered neon plastic and neon paint, and they started making tons of stuff in these like mad bright neon toxic colours. Toxic Crusaders and shit like that being a prime example. But this guy is fucking awesome. I love alligator figures, and you got, as a kid, you've got this guy and you got Leatherhead together, and they're just like a dope little alligator fucking team. I always love purple and green. If you followed the Deflatron toy that we made, you know that I buzz off purple and green. Always reminds me of Devastator from Transformers. And he is by far the best villain to me. And he stands up perfect because he's got this sick tail. So he just stands up fucking awesome. And again, he's got that like half mutant, half cybernetic thing going on. So let's have a look at some goodies. First up, we got this guy, Commander Dogstar. And his name always makes me laugh because if you know what Stardog is, then you'll know that Stardog sounds a lot like Commander Dogstar. I love how he's got 2 pistols as well. It looks like the Western gunslinger with the 2 revolvers. I've always liked that look. Dual wielding. And he's called Commander Dogstar, but he's almost got like an admiral look to his outfit. He also looks a lot like Junkyard from Toxic Crusaders. I love them like hound dog characters. He's bad boy. Then we got this guy, Willie Dewitt. In the toy line, he's the only human character, and in the show they disguise him in a space outfit so that he looks like he's part man, part ape. So he's got this dope helmet. The one thing that does let this figure down is that he has these little glasses that get lost really easy. I know you've got characters like this guy, the Air Marshal, with a hat, and the hat can fall off and things like that, but at least it does stick in pretty solid. But this guy's glasses, they do get lost, so I don't have his glasses. If you do have a set of glasses, again, holler me in the comments, let me know, maybe we can work something out, maybe I can buy them off you, because I don't sleep very well when my figures have got parts missing, and this guy, obviously, those glasses like make a big deal to his face. So he doesn't have them, unfortunately, but he does have his pistol. One thing I didn't mention about these toys as well is that the pistols, when he was creating the characters in the comic, he had them with these plugs on the belt. So I think that originally what was supposed to happen is these were supposed to like plug on the belt like that, and some of them work and some of them don't. This one doesn't really work that good, but you can stick it in his back if you want to like stick it on his back. So I don't really know why you'd do that, but yeah, you can stick it in his back like that. But even though I don't have his glasses, he does work really nice with the helmet on, and that's a fucking awesome helmet. It's like a cross between like a gorilla and a predator, and to me that's like such an iconic image as a kid. Again, he's in that semi-action pose, but it don't let him down. He stands really fucking cool, and he's just a cool little hench toy. I love this guy. Then we've got this guy, Blinky. I forgot how many there was in this toy series. There's still quite a few to get through. We've got this guy, Blinky. He's definitely one of my favourites, and you know why? Because he's got that Madball eyeball style optic. There were so many figures that came out towards the late 80s, early 90s that had like eyeball heads. There's a really dope one from the New Adventures of He-Man optic that I've always liked, and this guy is no exception to that. He's got a big bad boy eyeball. I don't have his original gun, but what I do have is this orange gun, and I think that orange one looks pretty dope on his backpack. So it's not his original gun. He should have a little silver pistol, but I do like that there. I think that looks cool. What also makes this figure different is he's got like wire in his arms. He can bend his arms in loads of mad positions, but I don't want to do that too much because that's how shit gets broken, and this stuff's like really old now, so they can be a little brittle. But his backpack's cool, and he's got like a Predator cannon on his shoulder. So I think he might be the second smallest. Let's have a look at him next to the Air Marshal. Do you know what? He's just about the same size, but definitely a lot smaller than Toad, and Bruiser. Speaking of Bruiser, let's look at him next. This guy's Bruiser. Another thing that you could do with these guns is you could like combine them and stick them into each other like that, so you could start creating like big super guns. And again, you can take it off and stick it in his back like that. I don't really know why, but as a kid I always thought that looked pretty cool because you can have him hunched over like that with the cannon on his back, a bit like he was like a walking sentry gun kind of thing. And I love Bruiser. If you know anything about me, I love King Kong, I love mad gnarly gorillas, and this guy's like a mad gnarly punk gorilla. He's like a berserker gorilla, and I said punk because he's got pure studded wristbands and gloves and shit. He's got one fingerless glove with like knuckle duster studs, and he's got a chain from his ear to his nose, which is like some proper punk look. And my parents were punks, so growing up I was around a lot of punks, so this guy always made me laugh because he reminded me of my mum and dad's friends. Next up, we've got my favourite of all of them, this guy, Deadeye Duck. Deadeye Duck is fucking awesome. He's like the Han Solo of the team. He's a space pirate, so he rolls with the good guys, but he is still a pirate, do you know what I mean? And he's a very much like a shoot first, ask questions last kind of guy, and they're always my favourites. Do you know, when it comes to like comic characters and things like that, I'm never like the biggest fan of the goody two shoes guy. Like, I don't like Superman. I like Swamp Thing. I like Captain America, but he's not my favourite. I like Ghost Rider, and I like Punisher and Moon Knight, and then Batman characters, Logan, Wolverine, shit like that. I like the anti-hero guys, and that's why I like Deadeye Duck. I love how he's got 4 arms. 4-armed characters are always cool, and he's got a gun in every single hand. And one of the hardest things to do, and I've accomplished it with this figure, is when you're getting toys in lots and loads and you're putting them together because you're getting bits from all over the place. This guy has 4 guns, but they're 4 separate guns as well, so I had to like track down each individual gun in the purple colour to make sure that I had the whole set, because like I said, if my toys are incomplete, I don't really collect a lot of loose figures. I've got a lot of loose figures, but I prefer stuff boxed. I've got a lot of my stuff boxed, should I say. So when I do have them loose, I don't mind them loose, but I want them to have all the accessories. And when you've got a toy line like this with a bunch of accessories, it's really fucking hard. So up to now, the only ones I'm missing are Willie Dewitt's glasses and Blinky's pistol. So to get all those pistols in the same colour, all different, was not an easy task, man. He's also in that semi-action pose, and it really works for him. When he's got his guns up like that, it looks like he's just bolted the door off the saloon and just started spraying. Whenever Deadeye ducks around, sparks fly, and he's got an eye patch like Snake Plissken, so he's like double fucking cool. He's the best character out of them all. And then finally, we've got the top boy, the main guy, the name of the show, Bucky O'Hare, and he is fucking awesome. To me, this is such an iconic image. Like, as a kid, this guy has been, whenever I talk about these, like, because they're part of my childhood, they're cemented in the DNA of who I am, because they've always been around to me. They've been around to me as long as my hands and my feet have. I've always had these characters around me. So these are something that are just like embedded in my brain, embedded in my psyche. And this figure, absolutely. And also, there was years and years and years where you could never go around a car boot without finding a bashed up Bucky O'Hare figure. Like, there was so many made, and these aren't rare figures. They're rare to get with all the weapons, but you do see him around, so it's just something that's always been a part of my life. Something that's unique to this figure is that you can move his ears around like that, so you can like get a little bit of attitude, a bit of like when he's got him back there, when he's got him looking forward. And he's weird because although he's a bunny, he's got like these ears that almost make him look like a Skrull, and he's got this nice final cape. His feet are massive, which really helps when you've got to stand him up, because like I said, some of these do struggle to stand up without falling over. And then again, the pistol with the hole in it that you can clip onto stuff. You can't actually clip it very well onto him. It does clip on the front of his belt there, but it looks a bit weird. So yeah, it don't really work that good, but the fact that they tried a thing and they preempted it with the comic by making them have these plugs on the belts and stuff because they knew they wanted to make these into toys, I rate it. I think that's fucking awesome. Then we've also got this thing. This thing doesn't actually belong to me. I told a guy that I know called Jack Dale, shouts to Jack, that I was doing this, and he said, are you missing anything? Because he's got quite a few Bucky O'Hare figures as well. And I said, you know what? I don't have the Toad Crocker. So he borrowed me his Toad Crocker specifically for this video. So shouts to Jack. Like I said, these figures have holes in the feet. There's no playset, but the vehicles, this vehicle in particular, does actually have a hole there. So you can stand Deadeye duck in it like that and have him flying around in the Toad Crocker. And on the original box, it's funny because it says it comes with toad croaking sounds. Check that. That's your toad croaking sounds. Like a fucking thing that you squish. So it's hardly a toad croaking sound, but it is, at least they tried a thing. Like I said with the belts, like at least they tried a thing. It's cool to have different features, and no other toy I ever knew did that. Unless it was like a boggling or something. So yeah, it's still cool that they tried to do it. It doesn't sound that much like a toad, but I still rate it. And it's a really nice piece to have. If you've got Bucky sat in it like that, it just looks fucking awesome. And because we've got a good guy ship, it means we need a bad guy ship. So we got this thing, the double bubble. So you can put 2 of these dudes in it. And do you know, like I said, the Toad Crocker doesn't really sound like a frog or a toad or a croak, whatever it's supposed to sound like. This definitely does. It's like weird how much it sounds like it. Check that. Have I got that close to my mic? I've got my little lapel mic here. Can you hear that? So that's really cool, and I think it's just like some kind of marble or bowl that's in like a bowl shape that's ridged, but it just rolls perfectly. It makes a dope sound. It also does this. Fires these claws. And this is just a piece that I love, man. I always have it displayed with 2 of the Storm Toads like sitting in the front, and it's another awesome piece. Like I said, this series only ever had One wave of figures released, which is a shame because they did have a second wave planned and they had some dope characters, including one called Rumblebee. So just a little story about Rumblebee, should I say, before we wrap this up. I know a guy that claims to have found a Rumblebee at the car boot here in England, and he bought it off someone that used to work at the Hasbro factory, and they had a prototype one on their stall and just sold it in pretty cheap, and then he sold that at a toy fair for like 200 quid or something like that, and this was still in England. So somewhere in England, apparently, there is still a Rumblebee knocking about. So if you know that person, tell them to holler me, man. I'd love to see that shit. And there was a bunch of other characters that they never released, including Jen, which is a female cat sidekick character that rolls with the good guys, various different Bucky O'Hares and different characters and vehicles and spaceships that all never got released. So it's a real shame that we never got Wave 2 of the toys released. We didn't get any more characters or vehicles. We didn't get any more episodes of the show, because at the time there was so much merch. There was NES games, I've got a lunchbox, there was so much stuff, like anything that came out around that time, they just hammered the merchandise for it. So there was a lot of stuff released in a short space of time, and then boom, nothing. But in recent times, it's had a bit of a resurgence, this show. People are starting to like it again. Boss Fight Studios have been releasing brand new versions of these figures, and they're fucking awesome. So it just fills me with joy to know that all these years later, Hammer's comic that he created and toy line is still getting love, like 20 odd years later. Still getting love. People still got love for that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of All Figured Out Show and Tell. It's a really dodgy time at the minute, not just in the UK, in the entire world. The entire world is locked off because of this virus. So a lot of people are like having to stay at home and self-isolate and getting locked down and stuff. We've not been locked down yet. It currently is the 19th of March here in England, so at any point we could get locked down as well. It don't make that much difference to me because I'm always in my house. I work from home, but what I want to try and do is while I've got this time just to actually stay at home and I can't go out, I'm trying to hammer out as many of these videos as possible, so the production value might not be as flashy as what you used to. The lines that I review might not have every single character or every single weapon, but I just want to try and bring out cool content for you guys. Keep this shit moving, keep the creative vibe keep the creative shit coming, keep the good vibes coming, and just try and give you as much entertainment as possible if you are locked in and you are isolated and you just want some cool shit to watch. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment below, let me know where you are, where you come from, what you're into, what toys you like to see, and what you'd like to see us review on a future episode. And don't forget to check out like this crazy back catalogue of stuff that I've been creating for the past few years now. Toy hunting, reviews, interviews, all that good shit. Anything cool, artistic, retro and edgy, we try and cover here on Slimehouse. So I'm Theo Kane, this is All Figured Out. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and we'll catch you in the next one, but for now, I'm gone. Pow! If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, and if you want to help make Slimehouse bigger and better than ever, then you can also consider being an absolute legend and subscribing to our Patreon. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Slimehouse TV.